So what's going on, YouTube? I know it's been so long since I last vlogged. I've been going through so much, and I really wanted to update you guys on my 6 months here in Phoenix. So let's get started.
I've always been the kind of girl that hid my face, so afraid to tell the world what I've got to say. But I have this dream right inside of me. I'm gonna let it show. It's time to let you know, to let you know. This is real, this is me. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be now. Gonna let the light shine on me. Now I found who I am. There's no way to hold it in. No more hiding who I wanna be. This is me.
Okay, so when I last left off at 3 months, things were going great with work and everything else. And I told you I had a special friend in my life, was just a friend. But that friend has since passed away. So I've been a mess, guys. I've never had somebody that close to me. I mean, we probably hung out 5 days a week, pass away so suddenly for me. That was April 15th, he passed. His name was Scott Z. He always wanted to be on this channel, but I made it clear that this channel has always been about me and my kids, and I didn't want anyone to get any kind of ideas or wrong thoughts. So I was gonna bring him on like as a guest speaker sometime in the future, but I never got that opportunity. So let me tell you this story time. So we met back at the beginning of, well, the end of September when I first came here, and he treated me amazingly. Of course, he wanted more. For me, I was hesitant because there was a huge elephant in the room. There was something with his health. I noticed small tremors. I noticed his face was puffier than his pictures he's shown me from in the past. Sometimes his speech would slur on the phone, and I immediately thought maybe he had some kind of substance issue. He swore up and down it wasn't that, and his behavior seemed consistent enough with that where I knew something was wrong, but I wasn't quite sure what. So needless to say, I said that we would just remain friends, and we spent a lot of time together, and he always said he was proving himself, that his health was going to improve, that he was going to have a consistent job and everything else. So in the meantime, we were friends. But I've noticed that he had seizures a couple times, and I helped him through that. I had spoken with his family, who said that he had issues with seizures, that he just didn't take meds on time, so I believed that. Fast forward to March, we went on a hike. He said his back hurt really badly. He had been on and off wanting to wear blankets, which it was about 60 degrees here, so I thought, Arizona guy, you know, he's chilly. I was chilly too. But then I noticed one day, which was the last day I saw him, he had some yellowing in the whites of his eyes, and I said it to him. And 2 days later, he was in the hospital with severe liver disease, and he never made it out. So after weeks and weeks of grieving, I wasn't able to go to the hospital. I called him every day, probably 2 or 3 times a day, up until the last day that he took his last breath. And as I've gotten to know some of his friends that he's always wanted me to meet, I've kind of been able to piece more of the puzzle together. And this video is in no way to try to put him down or to put his family down. I would never do anything like that, but this is my story and the things I discovered. So I found out that he had told me in December he needed his gallbladder out. I remember he got very sick and went to an ER here by me, and they said he needed it out that night. He told me he gotten it out January 2nd. I found out he never got his gallbladder out. Now the gallbladder works in conjunction with the liver to help filter out all of these toxins in your body, like ammonia and other things that are harmful to you that normally your body filters out. So the gallbladder, which when there's a lot of stones and things, I looked it up, that's actually one sign of liver disease as well. So even if he had the gallbladder out, he had been dealing, I found out, with liver disease for a couple years before he knew me. So he knew that. I didn't know that until after. So I don't know how long he would have ultimately lived, but the gallbladder taking out was a huge issue. It had an infection. I later found out he had a kidney infection as well, which he never took care of, and that could have been taken care of with antibiotics way later on. So we have the liver, the kidney, and gallbladder infected all at once. Everything just started to shut down. He was being given tons of antibiotics and nothing was working anymore. So he went into comfort care until the very end. And I know that he did not expect to pass away. I know that he had so many plans. I know that he was a bit in denial. And this video for me has been an eye-opening experience. Well, this experience for me has been very eye-opening, and I'm hoping that making this video, it's very eye-opening for someone else, because I know we all fear going to the doctor and hearing horrible things, or sometimes having procedures done because we're fearful of what could happen, but the alternative could be much worse. And I get my annual physical every year, and I'm terrified. I have such anxiety. That's who I am. I'm kind of a hypochondriac. I feel like I'm going to come back with all kinds of things. I'm just always so scared, and I've been fine so far, thank goodness. But it is something I dread, and I know as I keep getting older, it's something that, you know, someday there could be something, but instead of taking that as debilitating fear, I should take that as something where I can be proactive and prolong my life. And I hope to all of you out there, if you know anyone who has substance abuse issues or any kind of underlying health issues and they struggle taking care of themselves, please, please, please give them the resources they need and be an advocate for them. Had I known everything he was struggling with, I would have pushed. It doesn't mean that I could have necessarily changed the outcome, because ultimately he was an adult and he made his own decisions, but I'll never know. Another thing I found out is, this is hard for me, guys. Another thing I found out was there was a Circle K gas station right around the corner from his home, and he told me that he'd go there every morning to get a donut, and he called it his Cheers. Looking back, I mean, how did I not know? He was obsessed with the show Cheers because he's such a people person, and so he always dreamed of being places where everybody knows who you are. And he actually took a trip to Boston one year and took a picture under the Cheers bar sign. He was so proud of that, and he called this gas station his Cheers because they always knew him. And come to find out, he told me he always wanted me to go there because he talked so much about me and he wanted them to meet me. So I stopped over his home a few days ago to kind of pick up some shirts. I'm going to have some of his shirts sent in to a company that makes teddy bears from loved ones' clothing. I'm going to give one to his son and his parents. And so I went there to get some shirts. Stopped at the Circle K to see if I could see anyone that he knew. They knew him right away, and they mentioned that every morning, I guess, he came in to buy some alcohol. And and that even his father had come in and asked them not to sell it to him, and they couldn't. I mean, he's an adult, so that to me was a shock, because like I said, when we were together, he never drank in front of me, and it was things that I had questioned in the beginning, and seeing it was just, I don't know, I felt a sense of betrayal, I felt a sense of hurt, I felt sadness, just really sad, you know. I feel like I wasn't able to do anything, I wasn't able to do enough. Really sad is what I can say. But yeah, so he did struggle with an addiction issue as well. Needless to say, overall, he was still my best friend. I cared very deeply for him. I'm glad that I listened to my instinct and did not jump into something. I'm such a firm believer in taking your time and getting to know someone for months before you claim them, before you jump into something. I held true to my instinct and kept him as a friend. And I'm glad I did. Ultimately, it would have caused a lot of issues in my life, which I didn't need. But I really miss him. We talked several times a day, every single day. And this is my chance to give him his moment on camera. I was actually gonna play a voicemail of his. One of the last voicemails I got when he was in the hospital, and he could still talk to me. It's here.
Saved message. You couldn't have fallen asleep that quick, could you? Well, I guess you could. You fall asleep quicker. But if you still awake, give me a call back. Talk to you later. Bye.
Sorry guys, just a minute. So, I have 3 voicemails. I'm trying not to cry on here. I have 3 voicemails of his, and I didn't want to play the others because he was very sick in his voicemails, and you can hear his voice getting weaker and weaker where it's almost inaudible. And he told me he loved me. He called me every night, and that's what I'll hold on to. And I don't know how to grieve, guys. I don't know how to do this. There's no book and the best way to do it. I just feel like a big part of me is gone, and I can never get him back. And I wish I could have done something. And all I can do now is learn from this, appreciate him for what he's taught me, which was unconditional love, which is something I've never had. I feel like I've been loved very conditionally in my life, and that's something maybe I can talk about in another video, but he was getting nothing back from me. Not even the title of being a person that was my boyfriend, but he still loved me and he was there for me when I needed him, and I feel like I failed him. I couldn't be there for him because I didn't know. So I hold on to the text messages, I hold on to the voicemails, I hold on to our pictures, and that's all I have. So now I'm just gonna take some time and show you guys some pictures of him. And the first one will be of when he was younger, and we'll proceed to when I knew him and what he looked like. Just a reminder, he is 42 when I met him. In the hospital, he had just turned 43, 10 days before he passed. So here we go.